So thanks for tuning in today. This is Josh Blank. I'm the managing broker of Trend Realty, and I just wanted to review a couple things for you. If you're a home buyer or seller, the process can seem very scary, and I want to make that less scary for you. I want you to have a great time in the process and just be aware of some of the things that go on as you're buying or selling a home. When you're under contract as a buyer, one of the first things you want to understand is what is escrow deposit or earnest money. And the term is a little bit self-descriptive in that you're being earnest by putting some money up, right? If you were selling something, a large asset like a home, you want to make sure that the client who's buying that home from you is earnest, is honest, is sincere. And so earnest money is the first step of some sort of consideration in the process, okay? So if you are under contract, you want to make sure that you get your escrow deposit in, your earnest money in, lightning quick. The typical contract has a blank on it, and if you're working with Trend, you'll see this come across. You've got about 3 days. It can be extended. It can be 10, it can be 15, it can be 20. It can be whatever you've negotiated with your agent. But the blank in the form defaults to 3 days. So you've got just a few days to get that escrow or earnest deposit in, and if you don't get it in a timely fashion, your contract is not necessarily void, but it's voidable, meaning the seller can say, oh, somebody else came in a couple bucks higher, we're going to kick them out because they have not fulfilled their part of the contract. So you got to be very diligent as an agent and as a consumer with regard to your escrow deposit. Now, once you're through that period, you have what's called an inspection period, or what I commonly refer to as like a due diligence period. Now, here in Florida, the default on the as-is residential contract is 15 days. Now, in a market like this right now, people really don't want to pull their house off the market for a full 15 days while you figure out if you want to buy it or not. A contract is really not all that serious until you're through the inspection period. So a lot of times buyers will go 5, 7, or 10 days instead of the 15 if they're really, really serious and they want this house and they want to make the offer seem more exciting to a seller. Because if let's say you're dollar for dollar, okay, you're up against another offer and you're dollar for dollar the same bid. They are going to pay $200,000, you're going to pay $200,000, but your cash, or you're only going to have a 5-day inspection contingency period. That's more attractive than a finance deal with a 15-day inspection period. So these are some of the terms and conditions. If you're working with a Trend agent, I train these guys, gals, very regularly to make sure that they have solid terms and conditions. We don't necessarily always have to win on price if you're in a competitive situation. Sometimes terms and conditions can help you win. So whether or not you have an inspection contingency, which I almost always would recommend. You want to inspect the home. You want to get a good quality third-party opinion. Realtors are not home inspectors. We want to get a third party, somebody separate from the transaction, to vet the transaction and make sure this is a safe, insurable home for you. So a lot of times you'll have 15 days, maybe less, to get the home inspected by somebody else. My addendum, you might see a Trend addendum come across, highly suggests, and almost I'm begging you to get a home inspection because it's just the right and safe thing to do. So you typically have 15 days to get that inspection completed. Now, during that period, you can decide that you don't like the color of the walls and you can kill it because that really is a safe contingency in your contract. So get an inspection done. Get somebody good to do that. We use a lot of times, we have reputable inspectors who do this process for us. You'll see some information on them. We'd be happy. The Trend agents know who to use and how to use it. But this is a great negotiation tool as well. I hear people all the time talk about the inspection and they say, this is an as-is contract. You have to buy it as is. And that is incorrect. As-is contracts are really as-is with the right to inspect. You can still ask for repairs with an as-is contract. Now, not everybody wants to do that. Not everybody wants to accept that. Not everybody wants to go through a second round of negotiation, but it's very, very common. So with regard to inspections, just know that you have time to make sure that this is a home that is safe and insurable. After we've gotten through the escrow, after we've gotten through the inspection period, the most important part of the process, the financing. If you're a cash buyer, congratulations. Write a check and buy your home. Most of us in today's world use a loan to buy a home. Many cash transactions here in Florida. However, before I got to Florida, I was in Illinois. 100% of the transactions we did in Illinois, there was some sort of a loan involved. So I'm very aware of the financing contingency. So when you write a contract, you have multiple, let's call them get out of jail free cards. A home inspection contingency would get you out of jail. You can get out of the transaction. And the financing could get you out of jail. If there's a problem, you can get out of jail. You can't get approved for your loan, no problem. You have that contingency. If you don't get approved for the type of loan you want, you're okay. You don't have to buy the home, and your escrow money is refundable. So you want to, of course, make sure that you're doing your due diligence on the front end. Talk to a lender before you write the contract. You don't just want to willy-nilly guess at what you can afford. You want to get with a good third-party lender that knows what they're doing, that is experienced in the business, and can get you through the process. If you need to extend for any reason your financing, please make sure you extend the financing contingency within the contract. So let's say you wrote an offer. We want to close in 30 days. Something happens. There's a screw up on your loan. You got to push it 5 days. Extend the contract. Also extend the financing contingency. This will keep you safe. Let's talk about appraisals. This is part of the financing process. With regard to an appraisal, it's a great thing to have an appraisal contingency in your contract with your offer. No seller should really have a problem with this, because if they believe the value is there, they should stand by it with an appraisal contingency. So I like, especially in situations where you have large down payments, if you're conventional and you're putting $100,000, $200,000 down, I strongly recommend that you add an appraisal contingency. In circumstances where, let's say you're buying a $200,000 house and you're using an FHA loan, say for some reason the home doesn't appraise, a lot of times that will trigger the financing contingency, and you don't have to worry about the appraisal, because the appraisal has killed the loan has killed the deal, your escrow money is safe, your earnest money is safe. However, if you're putting $100,000, $200,000 down, let's say you're buying a $500,000 house and you only need a $300,000 loan. If that $500,000 house appraises at $490,000 or $480,000, your financing is still going to get approved. You're just going to be overpaying for the house. So in the instances where you're putting a large down payment down, I would also add an appraisal contingency to the process. So we've talked about escrow, earnest money. We've talked about inspections and the inspection period and financing. The final note I want to give you as a tip in the process is, if there is an association, please, very early in the process, put an application in with the homeowners association right up front. Not to say we've ever had many problems with this, but you just want to make sure your ducks are in a row and you're ready to close. You don't want to go through all this process and at the last minute, the 11th hour, be working on getting approval from the HOA or the condo association. Make sure you're working with excellent trade partners. Here at Trend, I've been doing real estate for 20 years. I have incredible trade partners that I'm very honored to be working with. If you're working with one of our trade partners, it's because they get the job done, they do a great job, they have competitive pricing, and they're good at what they do. Hopefully today's little video has given you a little bit of information on the home buying and selling process, and you found some value here. If you have questions, concerns, if you need anything, please reach out to me. You can have my direct cell phone. My agents are incredible. I love working with them. I love working with consumers. We want you to have a safe, happy, and financially intelligent home buying or selling experience. Thank you so much.